Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nemeka Onyeka Odereri. I want to do this short clip to just share with us concise and practical viewpoints on how we can actually collectively help our diasporans, Nigerian diasporans, and then harness their strengths in order to create an all-inclusive growth and prosperity for those at home and those in diaspora. There is something people have failed to understand. Most of us have failed to understand. Most Nigerians are jackpying and living in Nigeria. It's not as if Nigeria is working that they would love to jackpy. They are jackpying because they are seeking greener pastures, trying to see how they can better their lives. And interestingly, what we are having now is a second wave of slavery. Pardon my use of words. What is the second wave? I was discussing with a young Nigerian medical doctor, first-class medical doctor. He's in North America. And the guy had been there for almost 2 years now. He had been writing one exam or the other to see if he will qualify to practice medicine in Canada, to be precise. And this is a guy that is properly trained in Nigeria. And of course, Canada welcomes diasporas, welcome immigrants. In fact, they've now reduced the number of people they give resident the permit. By next year, it's going to come down from 500,000 to about 380,000. And if you go to Canada, even to United Arab Emirates, most Indians are there in droves. They are coming in. China and India, they are two Asian countries, even Pakistan, that perfected ways of helping to organize and harness their diasporas. Even Mexico, they have this. If you go to Canada, if you go to United Arab Emirates, if you go to even United Kingdom, you will see that the Indians and Chinese are so organized. Their home governments are doing everything possible to work with the diasporas. They are exporting knowledge, they are acquiring knowledge, and they are taking knowledge back home. Most of the top fintech companies in the whole world, some of the biggest companies in the world, are run by Indians. The Chinese are the same thing. So the governments, they don't appoint ambassadors just because they want to satisfy some political interest. Most of their embassies are occupied by top professionals, people that know how to coordinate things, people that are smart, people that are very enterprising, people that are very, very creative. They go out of their way to help their people in diaspora, link the home front with those in diaspora to see how they can create a veritable beneficial handshake. And they are everywhere. So why am I worried? This is a Nigerian, a first-class medical doctor, but he has to suffer indignity of writing exams, and these exams are very, very expensive. After spending 6 years, 7 years in Nigeria acquiring medical education, of course, some of these Western countries fix some of these exams. Of course, are beyond trying to recertify these guys. These exams are very, very expensive. So you see a young Nigerian working practically 18 hours in a day. They do all manner of jobs. Three jobs at a time to see how they can survive. At the end of the day, after working and making all the money, they are taxed 40% tax. At the end of the even excess hour that they work, they are charged even more tax on that. So these guys end up, growing the wealth of those economies. At the end of the day, 60, 70 years they come back Nigeria wasted and famished, and it shouldn't have been so. If we have those in government in Nigeria creating the enabling platform, if we have in our embassies like in Canada, in the UK, in the US, smart people in the commercial attaché department, running as chief commercial attaches, those that know how to create wealth, those that understand how we can harness the powers and the strength of our diasporas. These guys will have been in Nigeria, working in Nigeria if they are being paid well. First of all, we need to put in place a constitutional review. And we need to insert in our constitution a fiscal regime that makes it compulsory that 25% of every revenue and borrowing that is headed by this country across all the 3 tiers of government must be invested in education, 20% in health. When we do this, look at Cuba. Cuba exports a lot of loads of medical doctors in the business houses in the Philippines and the rest of them. So we need to be very concise. We need to be very practical. We need to help our diasporas. On the other hand, too, we need to also help them, even in their new host countries where they've acquired passport and citizenship, to see how we can create linkage. There's something about Nigerian diasporas, just like the Indians and Chinese, they love home. They will always want to invest back home. They will always want to, they're always hungry, like the Jews, to always go back home. So we need to help them. I have sat down and I've been thinking about it. These guys, of course, they are going to acquire more knowledge, acquire more technology. Do you know that it's possible to Nigerian medical doctors in Canada put them in a bucket in UK. So we can see even how we can harness their knowledge and everything. You know, set up medical diagnostic centers in across the 209 senatorial zones in Nigeria. You know, those from Okigwe zone, put them together, see how we can work with them, those medical doctors in Nigeria, those in the UK, US, set up a PPP framework, medical centers and all the rest of them. The same thing across every sector. You know, go to UK. Most of the food centers, most of the shops where they sell African foods are controlled by Pakistanis. How did Pakistanis even get to the stage of understanding what is our ogri and all the rest of them? Because they see there is no way we can actually create a synergy. You know, diasporans. Last time I was 2017, I can't remember. I was in Newark, you know, United States. I was in Newark, New Jersey, United States. You know, I went to a place to go and eat. One place they call Abuja Center. I spent almost about $60 to $100 just to eat African food, and that was the only. I was dry. I was going there practically spending almost 20 minutes to drive to that place from where I was lost. Now, if we have most of the food centers, most of the shops are controlled by foreigners, not even Africans, we can create a framework. This is a potential $30-50 billion market. Income coming to Nigeria, create a synergy. But of course, we can't even feed ourselves here in Nigeria. In 1965, we controlled 45% of the global palm oil market. Today, we import palm oil from Cote d'Ivoire, from Benin Republic. We consume about 2.4 million tons of palm oil. We only produce about 1 million tons. And this is a country that used to control 45% of the global palm oil value chain. What it just requires us to do to be able to cover the domestic supply gap is to plant new 400,000 hectares of the Diana Super Gene plantation. You talk about 60 million trees. It doesn't take anything to do 60 million trees. It doesn't take anything across the electoral wars in the palm valley belt of the southwest, southeast, south, and middle belt to do the 400,000. If the governors and local government chairmen are very honest and sincere, it doesn't take anything again to do cottage factories to process the palm value chain and everything, and then to have enough palm oil here to produce at a competitive price, just like the Malaysian investors, and export to the rest of the world. It's a $72 billion market. You can harness it. The same thing with banana, the same thing with every across, even cassava. They are producing cassava in China. They are doing gari in China as I'm talking to you. What stops us? We can actually do cyanide-free gari, produce it, do it the same way, mechanize it the same way that those in the West will take it, will buy it. There's nothing we cannot do if we set our minds to do it. But we pray and we need governments that are very responsible. The major problem we have is that we have across the three tiers and arms of government, men and women who are mostly lazy, people who are not creative thinking, people whose mindset are just zeroed at, oh, let me acquire political power, let me loot, let me share, let us see how we can empower our cronies, let us see how we can divert monies, steal, jack and fuck. Practically over 45 trillion naira are budgeted every year. You know, but every year across the churches of government, half of these monies are looted. You know, the award road contract, 300% over invoicing. The contractor picks out the 200%. Through the banking industry, they buy dollar, they ship it out, they buy houses in Mainland, in Dubai, and that is all they do. They do flyovers, they over invoice it, they use some out of companies as funds. That is not how to build an economy. You see, all these loots you guys take out can actually be invested here. You know, is the very myopic mindset. You loot money here, you go and buy a house in Maryland, you go to Kensington area in the UK, you buy property, 11 million pounds. Properties you won't even live in. Aliko Dangote, the wealthiest man in Africa, does not have any property anywhere in the whole world. And it's a man who understands. So that's why sometimes I weep when I see the kind of things they are doing with him and they are doing, against him in his refinery. Yes, I may not be an apostle of Aliko's kind of business model or the way he runs his business, but Aliko has invested here. If the over $500 billion are looted in Nigeria since 1999 are invested here, there will be no poor man in Nigeria. If we are practically doing what the likes of China and India are doing, we make it compulsory. There is no child born in Nigeria that will not acquire compulsory primary and secondary education, quality education. Do you know why we never had militants, bandits, or non-government in the early 60s? Because we had an education program that was very qualitative. In the southeast of Nigeria, in Alibo, we had a communal effort where every community, people were working together to send their children to school. One of the ways you can checkmate poverty, one of the ways you can checkmate insecurity, one of the ways you can create an all-inclusive prosperity is to provide education, solid, qualitative education. China did it, Singapore did it, India did it. See, if we have 98% literacy rate in Nigeria, I bet you won't see anything like insecurity in Nigeria. In fact, it will be, even if we have skirmishes or the kind of things we have in America, people picking gun out of shooting, it won't be like the kind of madness we have. Because a man that is properly educated cannot easily be brainwashed. A man that is properly lettered cannot be easily be manipulated. I'm not talking about certificated illiterates. I'm not talking about dumb, greedy clowns. I'm talking about real educated people. People that are sound in mind and in character. People that have passed through the wall of the primary, secondary, and university level. People that have been certified worthy in learning and in character. Education liberates. So, can we not just sit down and see clearly? Indonesia left us behind. Malaysia left us behind. Singapore left us behind. South Korea left us behind. China left us behind. India has overtaken us. We are now the poorest in the country, hosting the population of the poorest people, despite the fact that we have just about 20% of the Chinese population size, or Indian population size. Because we have refused to educate our people. We have 20 million kids out of school. We don't have any business having kids out of school. You know, we are busy. Oh, he had done flyover. He has used that flyover to steal money. Some of them will go and do airports. Okay, look at the Ebonyi State. They were busy clapping. Governor did flyover. He did road. Roads are good. But go and look at the Ebonyi State. Ebonyi State is one of the, in terms of education, literacy level, they are the least in the southeast. In terms of poverty, they are among the worst in the southeast. Ebonyi. But Ebonyi has no business housing any poor people in Ebonyi. Ebonyi has no business having the level of illiteracy that we have in Ebonyi. And it's certain across Imo State, Abia, Anambra, Enugu. Imo State that used to be number 1 in the education index in Nigeria, it should be number 28 because of poor leadership. The 54 billion naira, equivalent of 117 billion, that Umahi used to build the airport. Nobody. I wanted to fly to Ebonyi State. I was asking them, is the airport working? It's not working. Enugu to Ebonyi State is just about one hour drive. So why go and build another airport that you're not going to use, that will not have traffic? That 54 billion naira, equivalent to $117 million, then would have been enough to set up 20 clusters of agro-industrial park, fully mechanized, integrated with digital techs. Agro parks that would generate nothing less than $840 million, over 1.4 trillion annually for the remaining 40 years. Agro park that will create 20,000 direct jobs and over 100,000 indirect jobs. Ebonyi State is a state that can actually produce a third of the kind of revenue that Netherlands is doing. It's something across every state, not even Ebonyi, every state in Nigeria. There is no state in Nigeria that if you have governors, see guys, they can loot their fucking jack. But if these governors are right thinking and they get the right people around them, see, Michael Okpara was so smart. Michael, 39-year-old medical doctor. So to be a medical doctor is not, you must have an IQ level of over 70% basis to be able to even try it. As smart as Michael was, Michael still engaged consultants, some of the best professionals from the US, to help him to plan what he did. He had a roadmap of what he wanted to do. And in 6 years, Michael created 214 kilometers industrial belt, agro-linked, agro-based foundation. He grew the biggest economy in the whole of the Commonwealth, 9.5% GDP growth rate, over a period of 6-7 years. We don't need fuck and jack. See, Nigeria can actually do $1 trillion economy within the next 5 years. All we need to fix insecurity. And we can easily fix insecurity. In 6 months, these things will be history. Create agro-industrial parks across all the sectors. We know things to do. We know things to do. See, I sit down here and I look at the sectors. There are very easy things to do. But we have very lazy set of human beings. Very lazy, very garrulous, very obscene thinking human beings who call themselves political leaders. What kind of rubbish is this now? We can build up this land for crying out loud. Here is a need then God held over to us. Other countries, they talk about Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Helena, Typhoon this. In Nigeria, it is political typhoons, political disasters. And we hate them. We hate them because the truth is, if a majority of us Nigerians who go to church and mosque understand what principles are, understand what self-dignity and self-worth are, these guys will not be there ruling us. Everybody will be blaming everybody. See, let us stop it. All of us are collectively guilty. All of us, including me. Because the truth is, if we are all doing what we are supposed to do in our little corners, and we are very pushful about it, very forceful about it, very passionate about it. If you're a mechanic, you're excellent about your mechanic job. You're a bricklayer, you're excellent, you're not cutting, you're not stealing, you're being productive. Everybody harnessing Nigeria work. Look at Canada. 38 million people in Canada. 38 million people. GDP per capita, $54,000. Most of Nigeria, the 110,000 Nigerians living in Canada are producing, at least, they are part of the GDP per capita. They are producing at least $54,000 each of them, based on the National Productivity Index. In Nigeria, our productivity has reduced from $3,250 to about $1,000 now. Are we not ashamed of ourselves as a country? And we brag, biggest, the most populated country, populated in poverty and in misery. Come on. We can do this. This land can be fixed. God, have mercy.